Hi everyone, welcome to my Booktube Prize Round 2 judging vlog. So all of you won't see this footage until the end of May, beginning of June, but it is April 1st when I'm filming this, which is the first day of the official round 2, and I am super excited to be judging this round. I followed the Booktube Prize pretty closely last year and found it to be a super fun way to get involved in the community and also just read some really good or potentially bad books. So I'm gonna start off the vlog for today just talking about these 6 books that I am judging, as well as I thought it would be kind of fun to make some preliminary predictions about the books that are in my round, given that I've not read any of the 6 of them. So should be fun to read these books and see what I think about them. So let's just get started. So I don't have physical copies of any of the books yet. Only one of them was actually a book I probably would have read on my own. The other 5 were books that I either hadn't heard of or were not super interested in, so they are slowly making their way to me. So the 6 books that are in my round are Girl, Women, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, Ducks, Newburyport by Lucy Ellman, The Innocents by Michael Crummey, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, Middle England by Jonathan Coe, and Women Talking by Miriam Taves. So the book that I was planning on reading outside of the Booktube Prize is Girl, Women, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. So this is probably the one that I'm most excited about. I'd also heard of Ducks, Newburyport. Obviously, I think most people have. I'd heard of City of Girls, and I've heard of Women Talking. So I'd not heard of Middle England or The Innocents, so I'm excited to see what those 2 have in store. So I think right now, given what I know about these books, my predictions for how I will rank them are the top being Girl, Women, Other, followed by Women Talking. This book is one that I had heard of, as I just said, but I was not super interested in. It does sound pretty kind of intense in terms of its subject matter, but it is supposedly pretty well written. So those 2 things either really work for me or they don't really work for me, but I have a feeling this one will work pretty well. So that's number 2. Then the third one is probably going to be City of Girls. I don't usually love more kind of genre fiction, historical fiction. I like my historical fiction to be kind of almost more academic. I love to see an author put a lot of research into a very obscure time period, which I don't get the sense Elizabeth Gilbert did, but I'd be pleasantly surprised. So I'm putting that one as number 3 just because it feels kind of relatively within a genre that I already like. And then number 4 is The Innocents by Michael Crummey. I know very little about this one, except that I believe it's orphans trying to survive in Newfoundland. Could be really good. I don't usually like books written by white men, but we'll see. Maybe that one will change my mind. Next is another book written by a white man, Middle England. This is supposed to be a comedy about Brexit, which I don't really like comedic books very much. So I have somewhat low expectations, but we'll see. And then the last one, I have a feeling it's going to be Ducks, Newburyport, just because I've already started. I've listened to about an hour of the audiobook, and it's already starting to grate on my nerves, and I do have 44 hours left because, as everyone knows, this book is absurdly long. So we'll just see kind of how that book ends up playing out. But that's probably the book that, it will definitely take me the longest. I probably won't finish it until the middle of May, I'm assuming, but I'm hoping to listen to kind of an hour or so of the audiobook each day until I get that one finished. Next, I will probably read Girl, Women, Other, so that's probably the next clip that you will see in this video. Let's just get this started. Hi everyone, this is my first check-in for the Booktube Prize. I've now read part of 2 of my books. The other 4 are still on their way to me, so hopefully those ones will arrive soon, but obviously the shipping and everything, we will see when they get here. But the first one that I'm reading is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This was the one that I was most anticipating, and I'm really enjoying so far. I'm about 25 or 30% of the way through. I finished 1 of the chapters out of the 4 bigger chapters, and then I think there's kind of an epilogue of sorts. So there's 4 chapters, each with 3 perspectives from 3 women that are directly tied to one another, and then each of the 4 chapters is also more indirectly tied to one another. So I'm really enjoying this one. The prose is a bit more experimental, I think, than I initially realized, but that's not really bothering me necessarily. It's kind of, there's a line break for each new sentence. So I've really enjoyed this one. It is basically telling the story of a bunch of different Black women living in the UK. and each woman so far is just so different from all the rest of them. So we've had the first woman was a lesbian playwright whose play is debuting, and then the next one was her daughter, who is an intersectional feminist, and she's trying to kind of reconcile like becoming friends at uni with this white girl who comes from a poorer background, and they're just really interesting. There's a lot of interesting themes of like tokenism, navigating a like predominantly white academic world as well as a white professional world, and it's tying really strongly to Real Life by Brandon Taylor, which I just finished recently as well and really enjoyed. So yeah, would highly recommend this one so far, and it's like decidedly at the #1 spot, which we'll see if anything bumps it off. If it does, I'll be excited. And then the other one I'm reading is Ducks Newburyport. I'm listening to this one audio. I'm about 13% of the way through. I've listened to 6 hours of the 45-hour long audiobook, and I am not enjoying this one. So this one, again, is also very experimental, as everyone knows. It's like 1,100 pages, and it's all one sentence is what people say. But basically, it's just this very long stream of consciousness where our main character, who is a housewife from Ohio, she's recently undergone chemotherapy for cancer, and she's a former academic, and now she's owns a bakery, and she basically, it's just all of her thoughts, and I don't know if it's just because I've read some other really good books, Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, Girl, Woman, Other, that feature people that have been kind of historically marginalized and are victims of like systematic inequality, or if it's just that I'm finding her narrative to just not be compelling, but I'm not enjoying it. I think she just like is not drawing me in a way that I want to be. It does read still very like privileged to me, even though obviously she is undergoing this great financial burden of dealing with chemotherapy and then having these 4 children. I just am not gripping with it very well. And I think there's other stories I've read about like housewives, especially people that are kind of going through anxiety or financial struggles, written by like older white women, that have just been more effective to me in like conveying interesting themes. So yeah, not super enjoying this one so far. We will see as it continues on how I feel about it. Obviously, I have a lot more to go. So those are my updates. I don't know which one I will read next, whichever one arrives next. But yeah. Hi everyone, coming in on this rainy Easter Sunday to let you know that I've finished Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. So this book was a really enjoyable read for me. This follows 15 different women who are all connected to one another. Many of them are like the daughters of one of the other women in the stories, and some of them are friends, and then others just kind of have happenstance meetings, and they all are living in Britain and kind of experiencing everyday life, and they all have very different lives. So there's a woman who works in a supermarket, there's a woman who works, she's a VP for a bank, there's a woman who's a lesbian playwright, and she's just had a play premiere at the National Theater. So there's a lot of kind of really varied women in here, which I really enjoyed. And Bernardine Evaristo is just a really good writer. I think the themes in here are really important, of like family and history and how those two things are connected, as well as kind of themes of community and success, and what does success mean, and what does kind of success mean in the context of your life. And then I really also just loved how at the very end she tied all of the stories together in like such a moving and beautiful way. So this is decidedly in the #1 spot for me. I kind of doubt that anything will top this, but we will see. I think now I'm going to do a little try a chapter tag of all of the other 4 books. So I am still reading Ducks Newburyport. It's slow going, but I am reading that one. And then I also have the other 4. Additionally, and you will have already seen this video, so I will link it in the cards, which I think will be over here, which is the announcement video for my African women writers like book club that I'm going to be starting, which kind of one of the works that we will be reading during that is The New Daughters of Africa by Margaret Busby, and Bernardine Evaristo is actually in here. And so I think later today I'm also going to read her story that is in this collection, just because that seems like a fun activity. So yeah, that's something I'm going to be doing later today as well. And then additionally, I'm also going to do try a chapter. Okay, so I'm going to try to do a little chapter, or at least just a couple pages of each one, and see which one I'm most interested in reading next. So the other books in my category are Women Talking by Miriam Taves, The Innocents by Michael Crumey, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, and Middle England by Jonathan Coe. Actually, the cover that Robert's been using, and that it seems to be like the Goodreads cover, is much different and kind of more like kitschy looking, and I like this cover much better. Just wanted to point that out. So I'm going to read the first couple of pages or the first chapter of each of those and check in. I just read the first couple of pages of City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I'm intrigued by this one. So this is following an older woman, I believe she's 89 according to the blurb, in present day, or in 2010. The book begins with this little prologue in April 2010, and it sounds like it's going to recount her life as a young woman living in the 1940s in New York City to this woman named Angela, whose father is somehow connected to Vivian. That's all I really know from those first couple of pages. This one does sound intriguing, though. It sounds like Vivian definitely got up to some antics in New York City. Her aunt in the 1940s owns this theater/bar situation where I assume there's some dancing girls, according to the cover. So I'm sure Vivian gets up to some wild times. So this one actually is a pretty high contender. We'll see how the other books go, though. This one also starts in April 2010. I just finished the first couple pages of this one, Middle England, and I enjoyed it. It does, I think, has some pretty strong political themes. As I said in my intro, I believe it has to do with Brexit, but it also seems that this man, Colin's wife, has just died, so he's going to go live with his son, Benjamin, or at least stay with him for a little while. And I like the writing so far. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'm into reading a super political book right at this minute, so this one might go behind City of Girls for now. But I am intrigued, and the writing was interesting and engaging. So good little first impression for this one, but not shooting to the top of my list yet, I don't think. I just read the first chapter of this one, The Innocents by Michael Crumey, and it was pretty intense. So in the first chapter, these two children named Ada and Everett have just lost both of their parents, and so it seems that they are going to have to rough it a bit because they have no parents. They are trying to survive, at least in these first couple pages. I didn't get entirely a sense of what was going to happen to them, but I am intrigued to know what happened to these poor children. So this one might actually be a contender. And a couple of people in their little descriptions at the back of the book say that this is really gripping and intense. So I have a sense this will be a page turner. So definitely one up at the top of my list. Okay, I just read the first couple pages of Women Talking by Miriam Taves, and this one I had heard of. I know a lot of people on Booktube read it last year when it came out, and Miriam Taves is kind of a big literary fiction buzzword author here on Booktube, so I'd heard about this one and was intrigued to read it. I just didn't ever get around to it, but the first couple pages were really interesting. So it is the story of these women who were living in a Mennonite colony. So in Bolivia, they were living in this Mennonite colony, and unfortunately, this is based on a true story, and the women were drugged every night and then raped by some males in the community that they were living in. So this is kind of a fictionalized version of their story, and it's narrated, it sounds like, from a man from the colony, because he's a school teacher and he knows how to read and write, which these women do not, and so he is taking down minutes for their basically discussions about what they should do, I think, after they've learned that this is actually what's happening to them. And so I'm intrigued by that kind of unreliable narrator aspect of this. It's also really short, so I feel like it could be pretty quick to get through. So I think I might actually start with this one, or continue with this one, now that I've read Girl, Woman, Other, and then followed probably by The Innocents, because again, this one is also somewhat short and seems kind of more fast-paced. And then I might leave the two longer ones for next month when I'm not doing the owls or have as many reading commitments. So I think that's gonna be my plan right now, and I will next check in with you once I've made some progress in Women Talking. Hi everyone, it's the 18th of April, a lovely spring afternoon here in Atlanta, and I wanted to check in about Women Talking, which I've read about 30% of, but it's pretty short, so I have a feeling that I will get it finished this weekend. And I am enjoying this one so far. I guess actually enjoying is not quite the right word. It's very harrowing. So as I said in my last clip, this is a story of women in a Mennonite colony in Bolivia who have recently learned that these like aches and pains they've been waking up with and kind of soreness, all sorts of things, have been because men in their colony have been drugging them and raping them during the night. And it's like affecting all women from all ages all the way down to like small children. So that part has been like pretty deeply disturbing, and it, you know, it kind of goes into some of the like details and like consequences of what a lot of women have done because of what's been done to them. And it follows these two women's families, so there's 6 women in total, having a conversation about what they're going to do next in terms of whether they should stay in the colony and fight, or whether they should leave the colony and leave the men behind. And so there's a lot of kind of interesting discussion of like, right now I just read a part where they were debating whether the like 12 and 13-year-old boys should come with the women or if they should stay here with the men. And so there's some interesting stuff in here. Obviously they are like very religious, they are a Mennonite colony, so that part's been interesting. And it's narrated by this man he's been excommunicated basically from the colony. He was born into the colony, but then his parents left, I believe, because they were not agreeing with the leader Peter's kind of views. So they've been excommunicated, and he has recently returned to the colony to teach English to the boys. So he's one of the few people who know how to read and write. So they have signed him on to kind of write down all of their thoughts and the minutes from the meeting. And so he's been doing that and kind of adding some commentary. So it's interesting. There's not a ton of plot, which I think other people have talked about too. It's literally just these women talking, but I am intrigued by it for sure, and definitely will continue reading and let you know what I think when I finish it. Hi everyone, I just wanted to pop in to say that I finished Women Talking by Miriam Toews, and I really enjoyed this one. So it was a pretty solid 4-star read for me. And so this is, as Toews says, is a reaction through fiction to these true real life events, as well as an act of female imagination. So in this novel, we follow 6 women who are living in a Mennonite colony in Bolivia, who have recently learned, as I said in a previous clip, I believe, that they have been drugged and raped for several years now, most nights. And this has happened to women of all ages across the colony. And there are 6 women who have determined that something has to be done. Either they have to stay and fight, or if they should leave and start afresh in a new place. And this is all they've ever known. They don't know about anything outside of their colony, or even like how to read a map or anything like that. So it's a really kind of, they're charting unknown territory, which obviously brings a lot of fear and anxiety of like what to do next. But obviously the situation cannot remain the way that it is. So they are having this discussion, and it's a really fascinating look at religion and power dynamics within religion, and understanding like what is God's hope for you if you don't feel like you are actually getting to know what he believes, and like, is God did God mean for this to happen? Kind of a lot of questions surrounding like, what does God actually believe, and what should I believe in God if he allows these terrible things to happen? Which was all just really fascinating. I also found the kind of examinations of like power dynamics and their realizations as they realized that their leader, Peter's, like knows a lot more. He has a cell phone, and he obviously is keeping things from them intentionally as women in the colony. And yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting, thought-provoking kind of philosophical piece. I will say I think that's my only critique of it, is that it felt so nuanced and philosophical and like polished that took away a little bit from me thinking that this was actually real, because I think it just felt so nuanced that I was like, would these women actually have these thoughts and feelings in this moment after just learning about this? So I think that was the only like critique I have of it. But other than that, I would highly recommend this if like kind of feminist, theological like thinking and novels are something that you're interested in. That being said, I do think that Girl, Woman, Other is still in number 1 spot, but Now Women Talking is like decidedly number 2. I also am still reading Ducks Newburyport. I'll put a picture of it right here. And I have decided I'm about 40% of the way through, and wrote some like thoughts about why I am not getting along with it, but I think I'm going to save those thoughts until the end of my reading of it, instead of kind of just like rehashing it over and over every time I talk about it. But I am still listening to that one on audiobook. And then next I'm going to pick up The Innocents by Michael Crummy, but it is the 20th of April right now, and so I feel like I'm making pretty good progress. I'm not sure when I will start this one. I have a couple other books on the go right now, but I will get to this one soon. Hi everyone, today is April 22nd, i.e. Earth Day. Got my little alligator earrings on to celebrate, my little tree sweater, so I'm all set. And I thought today, as I was watching some Booktube yesterday, I saw a lot of vlogs, there were like 4 or 5, where people were doing like embroidery cross stitching, and I was like, I should get back to my embroidery. So I have it right here. I have not done it in like 2 months maybe. I decided that it was gonna be my new hobby because in the past like 10 months I've been looking for a lot of new hobbies, and I started this. I got it from Cozy Blue. I have another kit right here who has these really cool kits. They come with all the thread, they come with the hoop, they come with the pattern like printed on there already, so all you need, and they come with a needle, so all you need is a pair of scissors, which makes it super easy. I will link her Instagram down below. She has a shop and they're like $20 or something for the kits, really affordable, and I love her little designs and stuff. So I got this, and then like 2 months ago I got really impatient because I could not thread the needle, so apparently I just gave up for 2 months. But when we're back now, we're gonna do some embroidery while I listen to Ducks Newburyport. I thought this would be a fun way to kind of get through the hour. Seems like something our narrator would probably do, is embroider, although she hasn't mentioned it, and I feel like she probably would have if she knows it. But I just thought it would be a fun little montage. I've never done one of these before. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, enjoy me listening to this audiobook and embroidering. I realized I didn't actually conclude my previous clip. It was just going to be the montage. So I made some progress on my embroidery. I'll like zoom in a minute. And I made some more progress in Ducks Newburyport. I listened to about an hour and like 15 minutes, I think, in like real time. But I'm listening to it on 3 times speed to read it faster. And so I have about like 23 hours left. So yeah, should be pretty good. Only about like 7 hours, a little over 7 hours left of like real time listening. And yeah, I will check in with you when I have more updates. And here's the embroidery. I was working on these things, which I think came out pretty good. I did a bunch of different techniques. I'm by far not an embroidery expert. In fact, I'm quite a novice, but I think they look pretty good. These ones especially. I like how they turned out. Hi everyone, I figured it was time to do another check-in because I've not done one for like a week, and I have made some progress in the 2 Booktube Prize books that I'm currently reading. The first of which is Ducks Newburyport, which I am still reading, but I have like 12 hours or so left, which is only like 4 hours listening at the 3 times speed. And this one actually, it's growing on me a bit more than it was previously. I still am not super enjoying it, but there were some more poignant moments around the like 66 2/3 mark through the book that I appreciated, and I think I get what it is trying to do, even if I don't particularly love what it is trying to do. I also am pretty sure I know what's gonna happen at the end, in part because I accidentally like skipped ahead at some point, but also just because it's kind of obviously culminating towards something. So I'm intrigued. I think these like last 12 hours will probably go by relatively quickly, but we'll see. So that is Ducks Newburyport, and then I'm also like halfway done with The Innocents by Michael Crummy, and this one's intriguing. So it's a very quiet novel in that there's like really not that much that happens at all. It's just these 2 siblings, Everett and Ada, who have been orphaned because their parents have gotten sick, and we kind of follow them through their like childhood, young adulthood, as they basically fend for themselves on their parents' land in like very rural Nova Scotia. It might be historical, it's really not clear. It probably is though, because like they do not have contact with literally anyone at all. And I'm intrigued. I think it's not really the type of book that I would pick up necessarily outside of the Booktube Prize, and for that reason I'm not like really super connecting with the plot, but it's a very well crafted novel. Like, I think Michael Crummy is a very talented writer, and he has some like interesting style choices and thematic elements going on in here. So I'll be intrigued to see where I end up actually ranking this, because like based on personal enjoyment alone, it's not beating out Women Talking and Go Woman Other, but in terms of like purely stylistically, it like kind of ranks more closely. So I'll have to kind of figure all of that out. I will say though, there is some like, you know, sibling loving that's like more than should happen between siblings that's like starting to happen, which I had heard from Krista at Books and Jams talk about in her Booktube Prize vlog, so I was prepared for that, but it is happening, and we'll see how I feel about that. So yeah, I wanted to let you know my thoughts about those two. I will let you know when I finish this one. It should be pretty soon. It is interesting too, because it's not really a book that I want to read super quickly. It's a very like slow, kind of soft writing novel, and so it's not super pacey, and so I don't really want to rush it, but at the same time I do need to like keep reading it because I have City of Girls and Middle England still left to read. So those are my thoughts. I will let you know when I complete this one and start the other two. I'm gonna start City of Girls soon. I think it's the 1st of May right now. I can't remember if I said that. And I'm probably gonna start it on Monday or Tuesday, City of Girls. So even if I don't finish The Innocents, I think just so I can like feel like I'm accomplishing more. Hi everyone, it's May 6th today, and I just wanted to let you know that this morning I finished The Innocents by Michael Crummy. So this is the 3rd of the Booktube Prize books that I have finished, and the first that I finished in the month of May. And I would say I gave this one a like 3.5 stars. There was nothing that I disliked necessarily about The Innocents, but I think there were some things that I felt I wanted it to do more of. So this is a pretty slow moving novel set in very rural Nova Scotia, Newfoundland area of Canada. I believe Crummy lives on in St. John's. So this is kind of where he and his family are from. I believe this was pretty well received in Canada. I had not heard of it literally at all until it was part of the Booktube Prize, but obviously someone had, or else it would not have made the list. I believe it was shortlisted for the like 2019 Giller Prize, I believe is how it's pronounced, which is the like Canadian National Book Award. So this is a very slow moving novel, probably historical. It's never like exactly said what time it's set, but it is definitely a time that merchant ships were very common. People were kind of trapping and fishing for their own kind of survival, which obviously like in rural areas that has lasted a lot longer than in urban areas, but it sounded to me like it was probably like early 1800s. And I think this also, in kind of not revealing when the narrative is set, Michael Crummy's also able to kind of situate this within the larger like classical canon of 19th century literature, in that this very much felt like I was reading a classic that was written in like 1842 that Michael Crummy had like stumbled upon, which was intriguing. I don't read a ton of classics generally, but I did like enjoy kind of the style in here, in that it is like very slow paced, as I said, not a ton of kind of plot happening, but kind of very introspective, just like these characters living these lives in isolation. However, I think this did fall privy to something that I find in classics, which is that they are sometimes slow moving, that I get lost in the narrative because I'm not really paying enough attention, and then something happens and I'm like, wait, what is happening? So that did happen sometimes with this novel, in that like it wasn't clear, like sometimes a character would be talking and I was like, when did this character get here? But I think that was more due to the way I was reading the text as opposed to how Michael Crummy crafted it. So the story follows a brother and a sister, Everett and Ada, who lose their parents early on in their life. I believe they're 10 and 12. Ada is 10 and Everett is 12 when that happens. And so then from then on, they are burdened with their father's like debts to a local merchant, and basically are trying to fend for themselves in this very isolated area. And they grow to care for one another in particular ways that, you know, kind of Game of Thrones style, if you will, which was fine. I didn't like I wasn't necessarily bothered by that, especially because I think it was more common for this to like actually happen, especially if two children were kind of left to fend for themselves. That is like not completely unheard of, although it is, you know, somewhat disturbing. But I think in terms of its like stylistic, or I guess in terms of its like broader thematic elements, this did not captivate me as much as the other two that I've read thus far, which are Girl, Woman, Other and Women Talking. And so for that reason, I think this is going to be solidly number 3 for right now. But I have a feeling that City of Girls, which here's the little dust jacket, and here's the book, City of Girls, which I just started a couple days ago, might beat it out for the number 3 spot. This has been like really funny and enjoyable so far, but at the same time it's also like not kind of as literary, if that makes sense. So I'll be intrigued to see what I think of this by the end. I'm pretty sure like Girl, Woman, Other and Women Talking will stay at number 1 and 2, but I don't really know. And then obviously, so I'm most of the way through Newburyport. I have 11 hours left, which is somewhere between like 3 and like 6.5 hours based on my listening speed, so I should be finishing that up. I'm hoping to get some good progress made in it the rest of this afternoon. And then obviously Middle England by Jonathan Coe, I've like just read the first couple pages, as you saw earlier in this clip, and have not got returned to this one, so this one's a total mystery, but I'll be starting this one soon. Intrigued to see where that one goes. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So just to reiterate, my ranking as of the beginning of May is number 1, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. Really phenomenal, like 5 stars. I think it deserves to win the Women's Prize, even though I know some people are like, it's already gotten the acclaim of like winning. I mean, really co-winning, unfortunately, The Man Booker. And then number 2, Women Talking, because I think this one actually, even like the further removed I am for it, the more meaningful this one was. So this was like a solid 4 stars, I think. And then number 3 right now is The Innocent. So that's where we are right now, and I'll check in with you when I have finished Newburyport, which hopefully will be in the next couple days. Hi everyone, it's the 10th of May, and I wanted to let you know that I've decided to split my Booktube Prize vlog into 2 parts. So the part that you just saw is going to be the last of part 1. So in it, as you just saw, I reviewed Girl, Woman, Other, Women Talking, and The Innocents. And then my second part is going to be my reviews and thoughts on Newburyport, City of Girls, and Middle England, as well as my final rankings. So if you want to see my final rankings, head over to my Booktube Prize Part 2 vlog, which should be going up the same day that this one is going up, either the 30th or 31st of May. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this one. Please head on over to the other one to hear some of my spicy thoughts about all of those books. I have already finished Newburyport and filmed that vlog clip, but I'm obviously not including it in this one. So thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel through the Booktube Prize, welcome. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I read a lot of literary fiction, like the Booktube Prize, but also some kind of diverse fantasy, romance, a lot of nonfiction as well, both like history and science. And yeah, so thanks so much for watching, and I will see you